And all those who are on the Twitch, YouTube, FM, or on the Facebook feed, we're always grateful for your presence on Thursday evening. And let me thank you in advance for making your comments. And those who wish to call in, of course, the lines are always open for you. And so with that, I just wish everybody a good evening, and we're going to be having a great show.
And Tulu is going to join us later, but I promise you something, Dr. Daly. There is no way I'm going to sing the Tell Me song without Tulu. I mean the birthday song. I'm not singing it without Tulu, because the last time I tried it, I got in some real trouble. So I'm not doing that without Tulu.
Well, I'll tell you what. I will lead off, you follow, and then we go from there.
Lord of mercy. And then on Saturday now, people calling me to tell me that Dr. Daly chatting you up. Let's cover a couple of things first, though. I want to send out our condolences to the family of Norris Pinney. I knew Norris a long time ago there by Striker's garage. Mechanic, bus driver, used to take the tourists from Montpellier down to the beach, and always knew him as a mechanic, always knew him around Striker. He passed, and so we want to reach out to the Pinney family and the entire family. And he was a Coxman. And you know, Cox people are special people. They believe that Cox is the best village in the whole of Nevis. And so they are very clannish. I want to reach out to everybody down in Cox, and especially the family of Norris Pinney, you know, Chanel and all the others. Chanel's uncle. So I want to reach out to all of you and give you our deepest condolences. And then I didn't find out until recently that Conrad Taylor had passed. You know, Conrad Taylor, I knew him since the days when the government repair shop was down at New River Estate. Lawson too young to remember those days. But the government repair shop used to be down at New River Estate. And so that's where I knew Conrad Taylor as a mechanic, working with the government all those years, especially on the big trucks and the heavy equipment. And he was laid to rest this week. So we want to reach out to the family of Conrad Taylor as well and give them our deepest condolences. We're going to come to the birthday people in just a little bit, but we just talk around a little bit. And until then, Dr. Daly, you notice they're doing some repairs here in Charlestown. Taking a little while for them to get it done, right there by the pier.
Yeah, there's something with the culverts.
Yeah,
I saw the work going on for a while now.
But and notice that I can't understand it. Don't know the planning behind it, because they had to close down a large section of the road here when they were doing the culvert over on the Hunkins Drive. But they had closed down here before. They had closed down here before, and they put in maybe a third of the drain pipe. And then they close it down now to put in the other 2/3. But it don't seem like there is any urgency about it.
It doesn't appear so, because if there was urgency, a work would have gone into the weekend to get it done. But there seems to be no urgency. Nothing at all.
And some taxi drivers complained that they didn't tell them anything, because you know that is virtually a taxi stand. And so they didn't tell them anything. They just came there one day and found out that the little, let's call it a gazebo, that had been broken down, taken apart, and where they used to sit, that too had gone. Nobody told them anything. It was just a matter of, boy, you come and it's not there, and is the government doing something, so if you want to grumble, grumble.
Well, it goes to the grain, and the greater, of course, the bigger picture of this is the continuous disrespect that divisions face from their own government. This is nothing new. I mean, we saw the same thing at Ira Waters Primary. Children going to school, parents unaware that they were continuing at the school. We saw it at VOGN. We saw it at Whitehall. You know, the lack of preparedness by this government to inform family and parents of children what's going on. So this is nothing new. It's par for the course, actually. If they had notified the taxi drivers, I'd be surprised. I'd be pleased, but that ain't gonna happen. It's just something they do.
I want to suggest to you that they are going to close down this area again, because there is no way we are going to celebrate Culturama 50 with the car park in that kind of dilapidated state that it is. We've been asking for the last 2.5 years for them to mark the parking lot. Nobody has done it, but it needs repairing as well. So while they had that section there blocked off, that might have been a good time for them to come in. And the parking lot can take them more than a day to pave, and maybe another couple of hours to mark. And I'm doing that based on the fact that when they did the road leading down to the MUA, they did it in record time.
Record time. They have the priorities, but it's their priorities. It has nothing to do with the benefit of the people of Nevis. It's always some kind of private, interest. And so you've been talking about this parking lot here at TDC for years now.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that there are so many cars and persons going to Sinkers to work. And it's a shame that there has been no provision for persons to park. No new parking lots have been set up, no new areas. People are now parking all of Gallows Bay. If you pass it in the morning, you can't believe people are parking in the sand out of desperation.
Yeah, literally on the beach.
On the beach.
Mm-hmm.
On the beach. And so we, in our manifesto 2017 and later on, we have said all along, we have an idea where a good car park will be. It is south of Prince William Street. And they just don't seem to be interested in the creature comforts that Nevisians should be experiencing from the government. So, when you see people parking on the beach, that should tell them something. That is not a good thing to do. But it is what it is.
But remember that this government. Good evening, Tulu. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's good to be back in again another week. I was away on duty, had to make an errand with my son. And so it's good to be back with you two esteemed gentlemen where we learn something from. And while I'm here, let me say good evening to Bernard Myers, that little boy from Quaddock Road, and also a friend in St. Kitts, Ray, who is an ardent listener to both programs. Good evening to one and all.
Okay. I did tell Dr. Daly that I ain't singing until you come. No, so you're here now, so we could go through the birthday list and make sure that we can greet all our birthday celebrants in this action month of March. I say action month because it actually tells you what you're supposed to do, get marching. Not like some of the passive months. March is an action month. And I say that with a smile on my face. Okay. Okay, last week, I had a charge last week. My very good friend, Liniqua Dyer, she celebrated and she said I didn't sing for her.
Oh, Lord.
So I have to make sure that I include her and I sing for her tonight. Also, somebody please tell Kevin that we're not ready to take calls yet, so he can call back a little later. Also celebrating tomorrow is Mr. Audra Barrett. Audra, all of us know Audra. He has been around for quite a while. He loved the sea as much as Dr. Daly. Also, on the 9th, Vinetta Powell, and she got to be good because she's a Powell. She's celebrating, and greetings are coming from your very good friend Sharon. Saturday the 9th as well, Nurse Deslin will be celebrating. And then on the 10th, my niece Sharifa Skelton will be celebrating. On the 11th, my friend Captain Prince Mills, along with Kadisha. And then on the 12th, my neighbor Judy Claxton will be celebrating. Jacqueline Brooks is on the 13th. And so all of those persons, we want to reach out and say happy birthday to you, birthday blessings to you. And we do hope that you will enjoy your birthdays when they come around, and that you would celebrate and have fun.
You had Vinette James?
Vinette James.
Vinette James, happy birthday to you, Vinette
Definitely.
James. From her mom, and Monica Lescott is wishing a happy birthday.
All day, and it's today.
Yeah.
All day today, Thursday.
Well, I think March 7th? What's today's date? March 7th, right?
Correct.
So Vinette is celebrating today. So Vinette, happy birthday from your mom and your good friend Monica Lescott.
And we're not telling anybody that you're getting older, Vinette. We're telling the people you're getting better, not older.
Like fine wine.
Exactly. So let's sing for those persons.
All right.
I think Ivor was saying here that Vivian Richards celebrating about sometime soon too.
Yeah,
Today.
yeah.
Who?
So Isaac,
So
Vivian
Isaac.
Alexander Richards,
Oh.
Vivi Richards,
Me,
Yeah.
no, I don't know him, sir.
cricket. Yes.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. And as usual from us in the studio, may you live to be 101 and 101 minutes a day so we don't have to see you go. May God continue to bless you and keep you in good health, strength, and of course, wealth.
Okay, and before we go any further, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure that our friends at Kangen Water are happy with us. So we'll be back after this.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you'll never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
This 2020 Vision Radio 102.1 FM program is being simulcast weekly on the Caribbean Broadcast Network, heard on CBN Superstation 90.9 FM, Go Loud Digicel app, covering the entire U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and CBN TV on Flow Channel 101 and on CCT TV Channel 291. We do appreciate our U.S. and British Virgin Island listeners and viewers joining us for these informative and entertaining programs on 2020 Vision Radio and 102.1 FM. The views and opinions expressed on this program are strictly those of the participants and do not represent those of 2020visionradio.com or its advertisers.
Welcome back to Tell Me.
All right, we have one more birthday celebrant. Cindy Jeffers out of Butlers is celebrating. Happy birthday, Cindy. I hope you're listening and I hope you shared in the song that we sang earlier because we ain't going to sing again.
I wonder if Kevin was calling in with a birthday greeting. Kevin, if you were calling with a birthday greeting, call us. And let me put you on the ear and you tell me who is having birthday. Okay? Possibly that's what Kevin was calling about. Because I didn't go up that way tonight. And so I didn't get his paper, which he normally would send me. Okay, couple of things happened this week that we want to pay some attention to. The chamber had their luncheon, and so there are a number of persons whose company is paid for them to hear the premier talk, the same foolishness he does be talking all the time. But this time they had to pay to hear him talk. My understanding is that he said that Nevis is only getting 11% of the CBI funds. I don't know on what method he used to do his calculations, but that is what I'm told. I haven't been able to go through the entire thing yet, but I'll eventually. But gentlemen, he was in a government where he was a senior minister of Foreign Affairs and so on. He went down to St. Kitts with his tail on his back saying that, fair share. You want fair share for Nevis, or are you going to bang up somebody in St. Kitts? He didn't really say that, but that is how he sounded. You want to tell me that he went into a government with 3 seats, all the seats coming out of Nevis. He said strengthen their hand so that he could go to St. Kitts and get what is Nevis's own. Hold a minute. Let me hear what Kevin got to tell me. Good evening, Kevin.
I have a birthday greetings going out to my auntie we're celebrating tomorrow, coming from her lovely nephew Kevin. I want to wish you happy birthday in advance when it comes.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Okay, good. Okay, the other person is hold your call so long. Let me get through this. So, the premier went down to St. Kitts with two lackeys, one on each side, one in front and one behind, and sat in a government where he was a senior minister, where they had the balance of power, and for all that period of time, he completely forgot about Fairshare. He helped to mash up the same government. There's no question about it. He helped to mash up the government. And then after coming out of the government and people ask him the question, what about Fairshare? He has been asked the question recently. He said, well, he didn't have a Fairshare arrangement with Labour. I thought that the Fairshare argument was with the federal government. It doesn't matter who is in the federal government. You want Fairshare for Nevis. But his response recently has been he did not have a Fairshare agreement with Labour. He had a Fairshare agreement with Unity. Well, he was part of Unity. He sat in Unity. He helped to form Unity. He helped to mash up Unity. And then he waited until March to tell us that Nevis is only getting about 11% of the Fairshare money.
So this is a new revelation for him?
Seems so.
But over the course of the years, you heard him say several things, one of which was, don't ask how much Nevis is getting. One about how much St. Kitts is getting. Mm-hmm. So if he knew all along that Nevis was only getting 11%, why didn't he say so?
Mm-hmm.
If he knew all along that Nevis wasn't getting their fair share, why didn't he ask for a tribunal? Why didn't he even make a submission to the cabinet, as Timothy Harris asked the question? Why didn't he make a simple submission outlining his argument for fair share? Why didn't he do that? Why didn't he move up a bill in Parliament to solidify Nevis' claim to the fair share? Now, Dr. Drew has gone ahead and said he has asked the central bank, World Bank, to do a study to get to the bottom of this fair share argument. Dr. Drew took that initiative. Where was the Premier in all of this conversation prior to Dr. Drew's ascension to the premiership, to the prime ministership in 2022? He is an elected member for Nevis 9. He is the Premier of Nevis from 2017. He is now a member of the opposition, the leader of the opposition, in the federal cabinet. Have any one of you heard any argument from him since he became since he became the leader of the opposition, make any argument or any submission in the federal house about fair share?
No.
Nothing. But before the 2022 elections, he had all to say about fair share. Nevis wanted a fair share. He was the same gentleman who said he crafted the Nevis Accord. Mm-hmm. Right? He said he crafted it.
True.
And in that document, you had outlines of what he wanted for Nevis. And then he came back after the breakup of Team Unity and said, listen, we didn't get more than 85% of what we asked for. For all these claims that we are asking, we didn't get 85% of them. But he remained in the government until he mashed up. Not a word of dissension.
And not until the government mashed up, until he and his colleague mashed up the government.
Yeah, I mean, it is sanctimonious in my view that he can even talk about fair share. To me, it's an insult to the vision that he even could have the conversation about fair share, given his role in it, given his role in the federal government as a parliamentarian, as a cabinet member, senior, a minister of foreign affairs, and then you come at this dark moment and talk about you know that you only get 11%. You should get 11 lashes.
Even when he was in that Team Unity government, we will recall that he praised Timothy Harris as a genius when it comes to the finances of St. Kitts and Nevis. He didn't have absolutely no problem.
I got a good friend of mine, Tulu. He's a mechanic over there in Long Point. Very good friend. And he always said to me, daily, me never went college. Me barely finish. Me don't even finish high school. But these guys make me look like me in college. These guys make me look like I went college. Because the nonsense these guys do
And say,
do have you believe, if you don't know any better, that they know what they're talking about? But these guys, they have taken divisions for a ride. They've extracted the wealth of Nevis for themselves. And there's nothing left. The only thing left for them to do is to walk away from these people, the government and the people of Nevis.
Leach are not going to walk away.
I mean, come on, man.
They have sucked Nevis. But the thing is, Nevis Jones needs to understand that knowledge doesn't mean that one has intelligence. And the Premier may have some book knowledge. He has some legal knowledge. But he clearly is not an intelligent person. When it comes to doing and crafting evil, he's a master at it. But when it comes to do something that is good and worthwhile for the people of this country, he doesn't have the ability to do it.
I think beyond the ability to do anything, I think he has no interest in doing anything.
You're right, Stu.
All right? I mean, if you're not up there in the elitist category, you're down there in the rest of us. And he has no compunction to spit down. You understand? He is the most non-empathetic person you could come across when it comes to dealing with the affairs of Nevis and the people of Nevis. But the bigger question is, why does he continue to believe that his smooth talking and his command of the English language is sufficient to run a country? I mean, you listen to him, and if you are from outer space and have no knowledge of Nevis, you will say, man, this guy is good. This guy can turn water to wine. He can make frogs fly. He can walk on water. But if you live here amongst the people and you can decipher his lingo, his language, and realize there's no there in the language, there's no substance to it, there's no action from it, you just talk.
But it pays him well. I mean, he has benefited handsomely out of it. So there is no need to change or any desire to change to look for anybody else because he's after self.
His time is up.
But gentlemen, I want you to just step back a little bit and look at the whole question. And you're going to, before you look at the question, I want you to ask yourselves, why is the Premier putting forward this 11%? What prompted him? And I want to take you back to the Prime Minister's press conference. Let's play 2 clips.
The second question, can we have an update on the committee responsible for CBI proceeds, aka fair share for Nevis? Is this still on the federal government's agenda?
So let me say, the question, I think, at the depths of it is the fair share question.
Correct.
Since I came into office, I have sat with the FS and also communicated with Nevis that we have asked the World Bank to study St. Kitts and Nevis and to present to us a model for revenue sharing. I think that what it offers is to have a reputable, independent, expert organization to study it and deliver it to us so that when it comes, whatever it says, it will bring a deep sense of impartiality and fairness to the outcome. So that is being pursued. And I would ask the FS for an update on that.
That's one. Listen to this one as well.
Nonetheless, let me say that since we have come into office, we have shared much more with Nevis and the people of Nevis. Not just the government, but the people of Nevis. Mm-hmm. We continue to send the budgetary support of about $5 million per month. That is outside of everything else. That's extra support and that most likely coming from the consolidated fund where the CBI proceeds also go. So that's about a $60 million per year. In addition to that, we used to get a grant from a favorable country to us, and it was being hidden from Nevis. Since that, I have opened up the grant, and Nevis receives 25% of it, which is about $5 million that they never used to get.
Gentlemen, I want you to start to think logically. There is no way that Prime Minister Drew would have had discussions with officials from the World Bank to get this team to come to address this matter, and with his financial secretary, and not spoken to the Premier.
Of course not.
The Premier knew of it. But when he was asked the question, he appeared not to know. Now, here was this opportunity at the chamber meeting this week to discuss the whole matter of fair share. So what is the Premier doing? He's posturing. He's on his hands and knees like a beggar. This is what people who know words would call a mendicant. He's positioning himself to start to tell Nevis people, we should be getting more. How much more? More than double what we're getting. Because he has come up with this figure of 11%. How did he arrive at 11%? That means that he must have an idea what is the overall figure.
He knew all along.
I suspect that he knew.
He knew all along.
He knows how much is in the fund. He has an idea. And so he has come up now with 11%. So that when the World Bank comes in and the World Bank say, okay, all right, Nevis should be getting population. Let's do it by population. 25, 26%. He can say, but we're only getting 11. And so you were thieving me all the time. You have to understand who you're dealing with. This is one of those fellows who are not even so smart. But he likes to throw things out there so that his supporters would take up those things and run with them. My whole argument is, when did he realize that his 11% Nevis getting?
My argument is, and my thesis is, he always knew.
Knew?
He always knew. Right? And this whole, this back and forth argument is a visceral argument, an emotional argument, meant to pull on your heartstrings and emotions and divisions. And it worked. It worked in the last elections. It's not going to work again. Because since the last election, he has basically passed the ball to Dr. Drew. And said, you work it out. But he knew 11%. Why didn't he say 11% during the time of election? Why didn't he call a figure? What did he learn since that he didn't know then? Right? He always knew. The fact is, he never revealed the figure. He never wanted to talk about the figure. But, because why? Because you're going to say, well, if you knew you're getting 11% and we deserve a population per rata basis of 25% or 30% or whatever it is, then you've been failing us. So now, he's out of the government in St. Kitts. He's no longer a member of cabinet. He feels comfortable now to say, listen, it's only 11% we were getting, But he knew it. There's no way. What could have changed between August of 2022 to now, a year and 6 months later, that he all of a sudden he had an epiphany, a Damascus Road experience to say, I know that 11% we were getting? So is that going to be now retroactive, that the balance, that if World Bank come back and say 25%, is now that retroactive to what period of time? I mean, this guy has done serious disservice to the people of Nevis for his own personal benefit.
The other question that people have to contemplate is, why is he just addressing the matter of fair share with respect to CBI? What about that?
And that's even just as important, Carlisle. That's an excellent point. Dr. Bartlett did a calculation, and I can't remember what the figure was, but it was in the millions we were losing per year from the VAT sharing arrangement, the fact that we pulled out. And I asked Premier Parry a question pointedly a couple of weeks ago, because it was something bothering me. And I called him up and said, Premier Parry, what do you believe is keeping the NIA, the Mark Brantley government, from going back into negotiations to re-establish the VAT sharing arrangement with St. Kitts? He said, Kelvin, very simple. Very, very simple. Arrogance.
Arrogance.
Arrogance. He prefers to sacrifice the people of Nevis on the altar of his own arrogance. He cannot admit they made a monumental error in pulling out of the VAT sharing arrangement with St. Kitts. An arrangement that has cost us tens of millions of dollars since 2013 or 2014 when they pull out of the arrangement. Tens of millions of dollars. These guys have cost us in VAT sharing arrangement with St. Kitts. And the Premier Parish said to me, one word, arrogance. They cannot admit they made a mistake.
They should have known they made a mistake, because I know that I had that discussion with them up in the hospital yard, just released from the outpatient department where I was for perhaps about 6-7 hours. And they came to visit me, including Amri, him, who else was there now? Perkins, Sedman Trask, Beverly. And when they brought up this, I tell them, listen, you all are going down the wrong path. There is no way that Nevis is generating more money than St. Kitts is generating. Because their argument was, the way the arrangement was, Nevis was generating more money than St. Kitts, and so Nevis deserved the bigger part of the pile. They ended up arguing, and Mark Brantley was arrogant about it. They want the 100%. They want to have nothing to do with VAT sharing with St. Kitts. They want the 100%. Vance Amri back him up. I said, are you going wrong? We're losing. As long as I end this arrangement, Nevis will lose. And I don't know nothing about counting.
They have been shown in numbers. But Dr. Daly's arrogant, but ignorant as well. You got to put both of them together when you're dealing with this matter.
I use a terminology that they don't like and I get offensive with. Stupid.
But the whole thing that Carlisle and Tulu, in deference to the people of Nevis, you know, and in deference to the Chamber of Commerce, I mean, they just had their luncheon talk shop the other day over there by Stella's. And you'd have thought in this room of learned men and women, and the question of Nevis's sustainable development agenda, that nobody among that group would have thought to ask a question about the VAT sharing arrangement as being an important and fundamental revenue generating center for Nevis? No. Nobody would have thought to bring that up?
No. Was not on their mind.
But if I was there, and if I wasn't willing to pay lunch listening to garbage, and Stella has some really top class food. But Stella, you would have had to give me Pepto-Bismol on my table. Not because of the food, but because of the company.
Dr. Daly, you're not easy.
Right? But the fact is, you have a situation where you got the Premier at your disposal. If you are interested in these are the captains of industry in Nevis, you know?
That's the time to ask the question.
This is the time to ask. Well, what about the VAT sharing arrangement? We're talking about fair share as to the non-tax revenue, the CBI receipts. But what about the tax revenue from VAT? What about that arrangement, Mr. Premier? Are you going to go back on that?
No one who went into that meeting went there with that question on their mind. That was not in their thought. Their thought were occupied with airport, hospital,
but there was
maybe some roads.
But there was a third leg. There was the airport, the hospital, and the sustainable growth of Nevis. And if you have a population that is not growing, we had the same 12,500 people for the last 100 years. How would you generate a large enough tax base to make your life sustainable? If you're not growing the economy through direct investment, foreign direct investment, or local investment, if you're not growing the tax receivables significantly, then how do you pay for services? How do you build infrastructure if you don't have a tax base that can support it. You have to raise taxes on those of us who are here. And you see it happening this year. You're seeing taxes on the hospital. You're seeing taxes on the water. You're going to see taxes on Nevlec. You're going to see taxes on the supply office. So the small group of people we have on Nevis are now bearing the burden of a government that cannot grow the economy to generate taxes so that we can enjoy a better standard of living. Without having to go borrow and borrow and borrow. That is a fundamental problem. And if you have a situation where you are losing on a tax, the VAT sharing, then what you got to do, forget your pride and forget your ignorance and your stupidity. Go back and say, Mr. Dr. Drew,
we made a mistake.
We made a mistake. The people of Nevis deserves their fair share when it comes to the VAT revenue.
And we are abandoning this foolish stance that we have. Let's sit down and talk about VAT. Listen, we're going to pivot away from that. Dr. Daly, have you seen the IMF report, the latest IMF report?
I saw parts of it.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit about some of that when we come back from this.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you'll never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are strictly those of the participants and do not represent those of 2020visionradio.com or its advertisers.
Welcome back to Tell Me. And listen, I printed the Article 4 report. It's dated the 1st of March. And I just forgot to take it off the printer, but I have it on my phone, so I want to look at a couple of things from that report. And part of the report says something that I've been saying for years. A headline, debt and cash management can be improved. Using some of the large government deposits to pay down expensive short-term debt would reduce interest costs and gross financing needs. That is exactly where I'm going to leave that, because when we borrowed $150 million to build the second cruise ship here in St. Kitts, I was there saying to myself, if we have billions in the CBI fund, what the hell you going to disturb people to get $150 million for? And get people, we paying interest rate, I believe maybe about 7%, a minimum 7%. You got billions in the CBI fund. We have taken up cash for pay for peace costs us more than $100 million, and some other kind of programs which people seem to be all excited about. But if you can spend $300-400 million on these kind of programs, you want to go and interfere with the banks and with TDC and so on to say, please lend us $150 million. Every single government that has come in, federal government, it seems to me as if the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, when they peep and they see the numbers in the CBI funds, and the eye open wide, they say, listen, don't tell the citizens how much in there. So none of them have ever said, this is how much we have in the fund. We like transparency and all of that, but transparent is only for us. You're not supposed to know how much in there. And in the meantime, small change like $150 million to build a pier, you run and go and go borrow, when the CBI funds have been billions. Well, you hear what the IMF said? Don't bother with stupid Carlisle. Listen to the IMF. Debt and cash management can be improved using some of the large government deposits to pay down expensive short-term debt would reduce interest costs and gross financing needs. It's in the report. It's not me alone says so.
Well,
Dr. Daly. If I don't have $1 billion, I don't even have $1 million. But if I have $1 million, if I have $100,000 and I want $150, you think I going down the road to a bank and say lend me 150 when I got 100,000? This must be one of the biggest mistakes that we have been making.
Man, if you
paying
have
huge interest rates.
If you have 1,000, you ain't going to go borrowing no 150 no way. You're going to go and take your 150.
The IMF said we're wasting time with this.
Well, we've been saying it for a while. Use what you got. All right? It's there for a reason. And I know that wouldn't happen on Nevis because we ain't got nothing in the bank. You know, right now our debt servicing amount per month is about just over $3.5 million.
We created it.
All right, so we're talking 30, 33, 36, 36 and 40, $37 million a year. We pay in debt, servicing, interest.
And wasting how much?
And we got billions sitting down.
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy the amount of money. You know, the funny thing is, gentlemen, every government in opposition, especially in the federal government context, when in opposition, they say, you know, secrets are being had, and when they're getting to be more transparent, that people need to know how much money is there so they know how best to use it and blah, blah, blah. And they get in there and they sit down in it like it's a state secret.
You're right.
Because then you see, if people know exactly how much is in there, and you start cutting back on the STEP or the PAP or any of the social safety net programs, when people say, well, you got 10 billion, why is it you're choking and, you know, pulling a little bit money from the poor people? You know, the Prime Minister spoke about setting up a sovereign fund, which I think is a brilliant idea. Most countries that have income flowing in like we do now, either way, in Europe and stuff like that, you have countries like Norway, they have oil. So a lot of their sovereign fund is built on oil.
And gas.
And gas. And Saudi have that. You know, the Russians have gold and everybody got their source of income. We have CBI, right? And before it gets eaten up in social safety net programs, then it behooves us to have a rainy day fund. And that's exactly what happened. Because I remember during the COVID, I think Norway had moved, or Sweden had moved back billions of dollars from their sovereign fund into the economy so that they can help support the economy. And so these are kind of tools that governments have. So it's important that we have the sovereign fund. But I don't like the fact that everything is so shady and hidden from the people. If it's our money, tell us, boys, there's $5 billion in there, there's $10 billion in there. It does not necessarily mean that you can have a run on the money.
But how can they have a run on the money? They can't. Listen, I want to continue from that same paragraph.
Just before you go
because
back on what Dr. Daly said, because Prime Minister Jew has been asked over and over and over about the CBI money. When he not tell people to go down to the office and ask them because the information is there, he has to go check with the FS. He is dallying around this thing.
Tulu.
And they blame Harris for dallying around it, and he's dallying worse than Harris.
Tulu, I believe that every Prime Minister and Minister of Finance in the federal government, that they take an oath. We know the oaths that they recite, the two public oaths, oath of office and oath of secrecy and so on. I believe there's a third one.
That we don't know
that
about.
They swear that they would never tell the population how much is in the CBI fund.
Well, tell us straight. Listen,
but you know,
I cannot tell you. I will not
but
tell
why
you.
you can't tell us?
Don't run me up and down the place, go ask questions all over the place. But when you know that I'm not going to get the answer from where you send me.
But you know, the funny thing is, Dr. Harris is not the government. And he's not talking either.
He's still not talking.
When he was accused of depleting the treasury, he did say, I left 900 or some hundreds of millions in there.
That was
but
saying.
that had nothing to do with CBI. That was, you know, that CBI.
No, that 900 million, that was Dougie.
Yeah. But Dr. Harris also made a statement when he was accused of depleting the treasury that recurrent revenue was below expenditure.
Okay.
And so he had to answer back. But I think he answered back in the context of recurrent revenue and saying it's not CBI.
Nothing but CBI.
You know, so it has to be a state secret.
I believe so. Let me stay with that same debt and cash management thing. Because there is an interesting piece here which says re-establishing a presence on the regional bond market would be useful as a means to diversifying the sources of finance. We agree with that. The establishment of the SRF, and the SRF is the Sustainability and Resilience Fund. The establishment of the SRF and the fiscal rule at the federal level would require greater collaboration between the central government and the local government, local meaning NEVIS, to epitomize consolidated debt and cash management costs. This is the important part. More fiscal discipline is required from the local government, which should ideally be enshrined into law and supplemented by joint efforts to reduce the short-term debt. The local government is NEVIS. Let me read that again. More fiscal discipline is required from the local government, which should ideally be enshrined into law. Let me break that down for you in local layman's language, because this is the IMF, and they are trained to write and to speak diplomatically. So when you hear more fiscal discipline is required from the local government, it is telling you, listen, the Nevis Island administration, get your books in order. As Dr. Douglas said, not Dr. Douglas, Dr. Timothy Harris, you mark your spend bad. More fiscal discipline. Listen, when it comes to the NIA and the CCM, there is nothing named fiscal discipline.
Not a thing.
It is all fiscal indiscipline. These fellows seem as if they would wake up in the morning and they walk out, okay, we need a hospital wing. How much you need to spend on the hospital, the wing that you say you're going to put up? Boy, just put in 19 million. And then you start to spend money. And when you done blow past 14 million, you send somebody to Parliament to say, I have receipts and we have only spent 8 million. And then you come back and you say, boy, I went and I made a check and you're closer to 15 million. Well, Mr. Premier, how much is it going to cost us to finish the hospital? We're not sure. But we had somebody, a quantity surveyor, who came in and did some work. We got the results. Mr. Premier, how much will it cost? Work can start in the first half of this year. Mr. Premier, how much is it going to cost? Well, I'm not too sure when we're going to finish. Mr. Premier, may I ask you when they're going to done? But let me ask you, since you brought it up, when will the project be finished? We're going to start in the first half of this year. It is, listen, these fellows couldn't survive if they were running a rum shop any place in the world. Because they would have sold all the rum and they would have had no money to buy a new supply of rum. Because between selling the rum, collecting the money from the person who buy the rum, and putting it inside the cash register, in rum shop in the old days, they used to get a little box. Between putting it in the box, they would have dropped to the crack in the floor.
I mean, we laugh about this fiscal mismanagement. And the Premier's budget for 2024, he speaks about the fact that the government needs to rein in debt and the government needs to be fiscally prudent and yada, yada, yada. All right? But yet, when you get the audit report, the biggest abuser of the budget is the Premier's office. The biggest abuser. So when he speaks, don't listen to what he speaks. Listen to what he does. Look at the action that emanates from his speaking. And that is where the tie hits the road. He is a bad manager. How can you run up a country of 12,500 people? $600 million of debt. How can you?
And nothing to show for it.
Right? And so I think the IMF reporters were kind. As Carla said, they were being diplomatic. What basically they were telling the premier, you full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically in layman's terms, you full of shit. You can't manage nothing. You can't manage nothing. You get $66 million a year in CBI inflows. Right? Now we know that he's getting some more money from the Taiwanese, $5 million. You're getting $130 million from recurrent revenue, VAT and all those things. Right? So you have over $200 million a year in cash. In cash. To run a country of 12,000 people. And you still can't do it. You still have to borrow to the tune where we're now at $545 million. And then by the time you add the overdraft, you're well into $600 million. That every month, $3-point-something million going to pay your interest alone. Money that could be going into our school system, our healthcare system, our agriculture. It's going to pay debt. The kind of debt that you can't understand how you get up there. I mean, geez, man. There must be a limit to this abuse. And this is where, again, the captains of industry and commerce in Nevis, the so-called Chamber of Commerce, captains of industry, they had a chance because they are in this. They know this economy is dead. They see the receipts every night when they go to do their deposits. They know things are not good. You walk into Charlestown here on a midday, you think you're in a desert. Nobody's spending anything. Nobody got nothing to spend. And so they know that things are bad. And yet, they sit there and allow the people to talk and talk and talk and talk. And nobody gets up to challenge him.
They went to hear him speak.
I mean, I know stellar food is damn good, but, you know, this is too much.
They went to listen to him speak. Not to put him on the spot, not to question him, not to get any new information.
But how does this make them look as a body? If you are the captains of industry and commerce on Nevis, you have an obligation to the people you serve on Nevis to say, no, I want a better explanation, Mr. Premier, about this hospital. This is our tax money. Are you know the funny thing about it? I guess you're right, Tulu. They don't want to rock the boat. Because they would have gotten a generous package from the Premier, for the federal government and the Premier, during the Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
They got an 8% reduction on corporate taxes. They used to pay 33%. They're now paying 25%. And so they're walking home with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars more every month. So why rock the boat? We got ours. I fight for Iowa.
Okay.
You see how this thing works? You scratch my back, I scratch yours. I don't ask a hard question because you give us a little 8% off of corporate taxes, while we, the people down in the trenches, are sucking salt. And then when people come tell me some nonsense but they're not interested in politics, they don't hear nothing about politics, I want to slap the block off of them. Because these people are in a conspiracy to help one another. And we are left out in the cold with nothing. Understand that? Because I can't understand how a small business person gonna go to that meeting knowing the pressures that small business people are under in this country, and all you can do is look down in your plate and eat your pig foot.
You know, Stella ascended and
your steak. I mean, it is. I could not eat under those circumstances there.
And one of the reasons why the Premier is saddling us when it comes to services at the hospital, he's saying that pharmacies are complaining they're not making any money. Okay?
The pharmacies just got an 8% reduction in corporate taxes.
He's saying that they are complaining they're not making any money. His job is to make sure that they make money. So what he do for them to make money is to squeeze us, the small man who is just living, for the pharmacies to make money, according to him.
I was waiting to hear if the lawyers who attended this function, if they queried the audit that he imposed on them. But I'm going to get all the information later. I have one more issue that I want to pick up, but before I do that, let's go to the phone lines. And let me say good evening, caller.
Hey, good night.
Good night.
A question I would like to ask. I want you guys to answer it. The monies that is owed to Nevis that we have not collected in the CBI, be it revenue sharing, since the CCM government broke the agreement that we had in sharing the tax revenues, it's Sinkits, if they come out with a proposal, want to get back in, is it Sinkits is obligated to take the negotiation that they want to make now? And they can refuse it.
This is mandated in the Constitution. The sharing mechanism is constitutional. So I don't know. Nevis, really and truly, the federal government ought to have taken the Nevis Island administration to court when Nevis broke the arrangement. Really and truly, that is what should have happened. But that has not happened for whatever reason. Maybe some people on the other side were saying, oh, if we take this action, Nevis people will say we don't like them. But in a recent election case, the federal government came up and joined with. let me stop that.
Let me ask
Thank you very much, Carla. Good question. Sorry, I think the caller was saying something else. You could always call back.
The question is a good question, but part of your answer put me to ask you a question, because I keep hearing the politicians from Sinkits, and I think I've heard it from present Prime Minister Joe, that there is nothing in the Constitution that speaks to the sharing of the CBI money.
No, CBI was something which was different.
And so the CBI money is the money that is here. We are arguing about and questioning how much is in the funds, how much Navy should be getting out of that, how they should work it out. This is what Dr. Joe said, he's bringing experts. I am in agreement with your point, because since there's a mechanism in the Constitution, a 25 or 20-80 ratio, whatever the ratio inside there, that should have been the parameter that you started looking at sharing the CBI money. And so you start from
you're talking about between decent people. But you have to understand that with CBI, that was perceived as something that should not be shared. You shouldn't discuss it. You shouldn't tell anybody how much is in it. You take money from it, but you don't share it. You don't tell anybody about it.
So Singis hold on to all of basically all
But
of
that
it.
is what happened for quite a considerable period of time. And listen, you got to be honest when you're talking about these things. Some people have been working in Sinkits for the whole month. And some people tell me that sometimes when I talk the truth, I make them uncomfortable. So yeah, they say, listen, you just talk to the truth to plain. And so it does make us a little bit uncomfortable. But me not really care
all
about
the
that,
guilty
right?
people feel uncomfortable when the truth is spoken.
Let me tell you something. All right, for years, when you look at the Nevis budget, what you see there recorded is recurrent revenue. All right, and then you have grants and contributions. The CBI inflows in Nevis are still to this day described as grants, not revenue.
They're giving Nevis something.
Right? And on St. Kitts, CBI in their budget is described as recurrent revenue. It is listed as revenue. Right? So that's the big difference. They see it as theirs. We see it as a grant. We don't see it as revenue. People must understand the difference. Grants are things people give to you, don't have to pay back. We know that we don't have to pay them back for the money we get. But revenue is something you generate from the efforts of your own skill or whatever it is. We are not recording CBI inflows as revenue.
They're grant funded.
Considered grants. And so that language is still preeminent in the discussion. And that is why we are at the stage we are at where Syncits believe that the revenue generated with CBI is theirs, and they're giving Nevis some as a grant. They're not describing it properly. The Nevis Island government needs to record their CBI inflows as revenue, just like Syncit does. It may seem like a non-point, but it's important in your auditing how you represent figures. Is it a grant? Is it a loan? Is it revenue?
But Dr. Daly and Tulu, for a long period of time, Nevis used to get loans from CBI and Syncits get grants. I mean, you don't have to pay back the loans. You don't have to pay back the grants, beg your pardon, but you got to pay back the loans. Good evening, caller.
Yeah, gentlemen, I get cut off there. Right?
Yes, sorry about that.
It might sound a bit harsh. Some people might take it the wrong way. But me as a New Vision would not be advocating for that CCM government to be getting no more money from the federal government to do nothing in Nevis. I would prefer the federal government, if they have any projects to do in Nevis, come there and do it themselves. When the CCM government get the money, right, it's clear for everybody to see they're not doing nothing with the money. I can't say nothing. They're just wasting the money. We don't know what they're doing with the money. So I would not be one of those persons to advocate for the federal government, be it in taxes, be it by CBI, to be giving CCM government no money. Okay? What I would like to see happen, when he's being removed from government, the next government that comes in maybe can retroactively have a discussion on the money that is owed to Nevis and put it to good use. CCM government is not using the money to push Nevis forward or to make Nevis's life any better. They're taking the money, like he said already, it's his money, he can do what he wants with it, he can squander it and do what he wants with it. And then that's exactly what he's doing. Okay?
Thank you very much, caller.
He's not doing no proper infrastructure in Nevis. He's not making no headway for Nevis. So I would not be advocating, and I don't think nobody there should be advocating for him to receive no more money. Let the money go to a responsible government who is going to take care of the needs of the people of Nevis and the island of Nevis. Not system government. I would not be advocating for that. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. That's what we do on Tell Me. We give people the opportunity to express their opinions. Let me go back to the IMF report again and read a sentence because I want it in everybody's head. More fiscal discipline is required from the local government, meaning the Nevis Island administration, which should ideally be enshrined into law and supplemented by joint efforts to reduce the short-term debt. Lord Nevis wallowing in debt. You're talking about more than $600 million worth of debt. And listen, it worries me. I want to make one more point from the IMF report and then we'll move on to something else. Social Security. It says that the Social Security system requires urgent and decisive action. Without urgent reform, the Social Security funds reserves will be depleted within the next 2 decades. I will pause there because I said the next 2 decades. The way how governments does be dipping into Social Security and coming up with millions of dollars to do all kind of fat that don't relate to Social Security. It surprised me that they say decades. But what is important for you young people? Not me and Daly retired.
Yeah.
What is important for you young people? Listen this. A comprehensive reform is needed to gradually raise the retirement age, increase contribution rates, expand the pension coverage, lower the replacement rates, and diversify its investment portfolio. I'd read a piece of that again, not the whole thing that I just read. A comprehensive reform is needed to gradually raise the retirement age. Daly retired at 62. Well, not retired at 62. Daly started getting Social Security at 62. May reach there, but around the corner coming. They're looking to raise the retirement age
to 65.
You know what that means? that you got to work longer before you start to get the little piece of change that has been taken out of your money from the day you start to work. But it's not only that. It's not only raising the retirement age. They're talking about increasing the contribution rates. You know what that means? In me and your language, raising the amount of money that you pay to Social Security. So here is the thing. I would have preferred if the IMF had gone on to say, and to every single government, keep your hand off of Social Security money. Because when you put in your hand and you take out 100 million to do all kind of programs that have nothing to do with the people who have been making contributions all the years.
And I pay back.
Exactly. And the only way you can say it to fill that gap is to raise the retirement age and increase the percentage that you pay to Social Security. I have a problem with that.
You see, hear me out, Carla. The average age, mortality age for men and women in Nevis and St. Kitts is 72 average. All right? Men, of course, die younger. Men on average about 69, 70, women about 72 average. You know, women hang us to death, so we dead younger.
They love us to death, not hang us.
I don't know about that. But anyway, we die younger. So if you're going to raise it to 65 to save Social Security some money, and your average mortality, the age of death is 72. So you got 7 years on average. You work 30 years, 35 years, and you got 7 years of benefits. So when you die, unless you have dependents, that money stays right back in Social Security for the government to come and use how they feel. I can't agree at any point to be raising no age for Social Security benefits. If person was living in the 80s, average, I'd say okay. But when you are dying at 72 and retiring at 65, or getting the benefits at 65, that is counterintuitive right off the bat. That ain't gonna happen. The issue with the government, the Social Security regulations that binds it to have a certain amount of the money in investments, that need to be examined. That's a big problem. All right, a lot of the money is tied up because they cannot invest it outside of the Federation and St. Kitts and Nevis. People don't know these things, but that's a fact. All right, so taking out more money for contributions. How much more money? We're already contributing 10%, 8.5%, 10%. 3.5% going to social services levy that's supposed to go into affordable homes and all that. We're not seeing that. So I would more like, if I had to argue, I would more like reform those contributions, how they are paid. You know, and like Carla said, if they were to simply take their hands off the Social Security money and let the Social Security invest that money, I think there'll be enough. But another problem is looming because, believe it or not, our population as it stands, going into the 21st century, cannot sustain Social Security. You need a larger pool of contributions, and you can only get a larger pool of contributions if you got a larger population. And so to get a larger population, you have to import people. And that is where we are now, right now with the CARICOM business. And so that's another discussion for another time. But the fact remains is, if Social Security was managed better, I don't think that you would need to increase the retirement age or the benefits age to 65.
Okay. Couple of things before we go to the next break. There is a raffle, $20. That's all you need to spend. $20 on a raffle ticket. You win, you get a ticket to come home to Nevis for Culturama 50. Not only that, you get a ticket for all the major shows. It's only $20. Those of you out there who are thinking that you want to do this, I am going to go to collect my tickets just now. am going to be selling physical tickets. So apart from the site that you can go to, you want a ticket, make sure you get your $20 to me, and I will purchase you a ticket for you so that you can get a chance to win this ticket to come home and be in Nevis for Culturama 50. Having said that, let's move to something else. Let me make sure that I get my volume up and we're good. I like when my technical team send me stuff which can show how this premiere here like to talk one thing and then talk the next thing. I'm going to play you a series of clips. Get your pen and your piece of paper, because the premiere does talk out of the two sides of your mouth and sometimes from somewhere else. Let's listen to this.
Determined that we need additional water, and to that end, the cabinet has given instructions that we aggressively pursue the drilling of some additional wells. We've already identified the areas. It's just now to get the wells done. As I indicated publicly before, we had made a commitment to have an additional 3 wells done at a global cost of 10 million EC dollars back in 2017. In fact, it was in August of 2017 that we paid to a company called BEAD just over 2 million EC dollars as a down payment. BEAD has never come to do the work for the government. And so we don't have our $2 million and we don't have any wells. We have decided to take legal action against BEAD. That is ongoing. But we continue to pursue other avenues to resolve that dispute and that difficulty.
Daily, you used to teach. So I want to make sure that you have your notes right. Tolu, you got your pen and your book. The important numbers from this first clip: 10 million, 3 wells, $2 million paid to BEAD. Hope you got that.
8 million.
May of 2023. $10 million for 3 wells. They paid BEAD $2 million. Okay? Let's go to the second clip, which is from July. Let me find the second clip and play this one.
However, that we have not been asleep on this issue. And I don't want people to feel that it's only now the crisis has come that we are responding. In fact, we had already paid significant sums, millions of dollars, to BEAD to do some drilling for us. They were supposed to drill 4 wells here on the island of Nevis. Well, BEAD got the money and BEAD didn't do the drilling.
3 to 4 now.
And so we had to end up in court with them. We are hopeful now that we understand that the federal government is using them, that they will now come to Nevis and do the right thing before we are forced to take enforcement measures against them in the court.
Okay. You notice that in that one, the number of wells went from 3
to 4.
to 4. Okay? Now, let's go to the last press conference that the Premier had.
BEAD. The BEAD situation has been a complex situation. BEAD, as we said in 2017, we would have paid BEAD US $760,000 as a down payment on 3 wells, total cost of $2 million US. And BEAD didn't deliver, in our opinion. We tried to engage with them, that didn't go anywhere. We eventually went to court to try to recover. Not all, but some, because under the contract we were not able to recover all of the monies that we had paid them. And BEAD did not respond. We in fact had a default judgment against BEAD for that amount.
You would think that if the Premier is addressing this matter for such a long period of time that he would have his numbers right. You remember the first clip? He said millions of dollars, 2 million US. But why you to go back? Because he referenced the 2017. I remember I told you the important numbers, 10 million, 3 wells, 2 million paid so far. But that $10 million is not close to 2 million US dollars. Where the difference gone? Because you have to work the numbers. 2 million US dollars for the wells. But he says $10 million that they had. And we keep asking this question all the time. Something is wrong and there appears to be some leakage. I mean significant leakage when it comes to these projects. I wonder if that extra money was for the fourth well. Because he went from 3 to 4 and back to 3. Something not adding up. If you, listen, up to this present moment, if anybody asks me about geothermal in Nevis, I know that there were 3 slim holes that were drilled. 3 wells. I would never forget and say that is 4. And the premier is the man who has been speaking. He's not the minister responsible for water. But he's the man who has been speaking about these wells all the time. So he must know that in 2017 he said 3 wells. So how is it that he got that up to 4 and then back to 3? How is it he talk about 10 million, but then all of a sudden 2 million US is the figure? Mr. Premier, if you move from US to EC to pounds to euro, you can't fool me. I will always be able to work the conversions. Something is wrong. But one thing that we know for certain is that from 2017 to now, we ain't get a drop of water. All the wells you promised, we have not had a drop of water.
What is shocking to me is this. We've been in a water crisis for years, close on a decade now. And as you quite rightly put it, he came to us in 2017, August, I believe, and said that the cabinet had approved, with immediate effect, the disbursement of $10 million for the construction of 3 new wells.
Mm-hmm.
Based on his argument, they would have entered into a contractual arrangement with BEAD around the same period of time for 3 wells for the $10 million.
2.
Right? They gave a deposit.
2.
They made a deposit of $2 million. Between 2017 and 2024, during all those crisis years of no water and water rationing, we heard nothing about a contractual arrangement with BEAD.
True.
They said they're going to drill, they're going to make the money available. They never said they signed a contract with BEAD. We're now learning that signed a contract with BEAD for 3 wells. They say that BEAD took the money and BEAD did not drill any wells. We're talking about 2017 till now. And they have now gotten a default judgment from BEAD for part of the money. Well, it's a strange thing. If you paid BEAD $2 million as a deposit on these wells, and I'm assuming that as the wells come into production, more money will be released to BEAD for the wells that come into production. But I'm confused, gentlemen, that you paid BEAD $2 million, they did nothing, but you only are seeking a redress of $400,000. I don't understand that. Part of the money. I'm at a loss. What am I missing? How is it that I pay you $2 million to drill a well for me? You don't show up at all. You don't make no effort to come and drill that well. Well, wouldn't I be suing you for the entire $2 million?
Plus interest.
Plus interest? Why would I sue for only part of it? Is there something we're not learning or something we don't know about this deal? Why is it taking this long to get this matter resolved with BEAD? Is the first question. And why are they only seeking a portion of the money back based on some contractual arrangement? When I pay you $2 million and you don't deliver $2 million worth of work, I want all my money back, not part of it.
I'll tell you, the gentleman has not told us the truth.
Something that, I don't know, as my good friend said, something wrong.
Something wrong.
Something wrong.
He has not told us the truth.
There's something, the math's not matching up.
Look at the Dr. Daly. When it comes to the people's money, he does not want, according to him, all that he paid, the $2 million. When it comes to money for his pocket, he wants every cent. I want every cent from Carleen. I want every cent from Joseph Parry and Hensel Daniel. I want every cent from Pat. Because it's going down in his pocket. But when it comes to the people's money, he's saying that I put out 200 million and only want $400,000 back. Look at where the heart is. But I am saying that all the information that he has given to us in relation to drilling of wells and water, he hasn't told us the truth. He lied all the way through.
In the last press conference, he said that Bede has re-entered the Federation as if Bede had left. And they have re-engaged with Bede and they're hoping Bede to do the right thing. Just walk it out. And I find that whole comment strange because if a man stiff you, if I hire you to build a house in Metolo and you stiff me, I ain't got my money and I ain't got no house, I gonna go back to you?
Talga, sir.
Not when I got other choices of people.
Well, you're a wise individual.
He said that they have entered bid, people have submitted bids for the new drilling contracts. They're going to be working with one of those companies to drill these wells. If you know adversaries where you had to go to the court to get a default judgment, why would I be doing business back with you?
Because you are wise.
But there's something that we not know. There's something that is not smelling good. Why would the Premier re-enter into negotiations with Bede, a company that you went to court for, and won a default judgment according to him for part of the money you paid, part of the $2 million you paid? Something is not right.
But Dr. Daly, not only that, there is a clip, and I apologize. We had some computer problems earlier this evening, so we are not playing the clips from the computer. And so we're missing some of the important clips that we sent. I'm trying to play some from my phone. I'm sure in one of the recent press conferences, the Premier said that Bede is coming back to Nevis. They're back in business. I'm almost sure he said that.
He said it.
Okay.
He said they have re-entered the Federation and they are looking to have an encounter with Bede for them to do the right thing.
After they finish in St.
After they finish in St. Kitts. But I don't understand then, if you're willing to re-engage with Bede, then what is the position regarding the other drillers? What contracts have you? You haven't had any contracts with them yet?
Had arrangements.
Yeah. And these wells are supposed to be delivered when?
For Culturama.
Okay then.
But remember that they drilled the well in Cairn and found water. And that has not been connected yet, to the best of my knowledge. So if anybody wants to think that the companies are going to come to Nevis, drill wells, find water, lay the pipes, have the pumps in the well, and have water in the homes for Culturama. Listen, every time you go down to the beach, you got to pay me to swim. If I believe the foolishness that the Premier is saying, when I go beach, just pay me to go in the water. The water ain't belong to all you free anymore. Just pay me.
So they have to pay to
go in the water. Once they could believe the Premier, they could believe this belong to me too.
One of the things that comes back to mind in relation to Bede and CCM, when Bede was given a contract by Carl Powell, NRP, to drill for water in Nevis, CCM kicked hell against Bede.
Yeah, they say it's Nevis people
they
water.
Rejected Bede. Bede was no good. Bede was ripping off the people of Nevis. And now these same set of people turn around and saying to us that they went to the very same company that was no good. The very same company was stealing from the people of Nevis. Listen, these are some sick individuals.
So they said Bede was stealing from us. And they still went and gave them $2 million. Listen, you can't make this stuff up. Boy.
No, it's fun.
These guys are not wise.
Make this stuff up. And it goes back to what the IMF said. There is no fiscal management. There is no fiscal responsibility. There is no fiscal architecture left in this government. Because you accuse Carl Powell and Joseph Parry of bringing in Bede to rip off the people of Nevis. Bede left. You took over. You made a mock of it. No water, no drilling. You now went back quietly and negotiate with the same company for $10 million. Give them $2 million down. You give them $2 million and you sue them for $400,000.
But that's a good deal. Anybody could give me $2 million and then sue me for 400,000. That's a good deal.
So it's a good deal for me.
Great deal.
It's a great deal for me.
So who stole from the people of Nevis? Them.
Good question.
You remember Powell, that the minister then who was responsible when he got into office, he said one of the first things that he did when he got into office
Get it with a beat.
is to call Beatty in and ask, give me one reason why I shouldn't fire you on the spot. So immediately they came in with the intention that Beatty is so bad that the minister, his first day in office, first meeting with Beatty, I'm going to get rid of you because you're so bad. And then turn around and hire the same company that you said so bad with our money.
If they could leave the VAT arrangement,
they could leave anything.
They could leave anything.
Gentlemen, half an hour to go on the show. I want to play 2 clips from the chamber, the premier's presentation to the chamber. Also have some stuff from Dr. Drew's press conference earlier today. Not too sure we're going to get to those, but at least let us go back to the chamber conference, because I always want to put on the table the hospital and the airport. So let's do this.
The hospital, the Van Samer International Airport. So let me now segue quickly into those two. We are now ready to proceed with the interior work at the hospital. The exterior is complete. In fact, if you go there, it's painted. We wanted aesthetically for it not to look like a construction site, and I believe we've achieved that. But the interior needs to be done, and we are currently in the process, having received the necessary information that we need, the takeoffs, they tell me, something called this quantity surveyors had to do some takeoffs. We eventually had to get a firm out of the United States. We tried to get it done locally. That didn't work. So we had to get it out to the US, but we now have that information. And I'm told that this team, the technical team that has been established by the government, that they will shortly be entertaining bids for the various work to be done there. The information that I have as of today is that construction should restart within the first half of this year. And we anticipate that once that restarts, we will proceed to completion.
Couple of points. The first half of the year soon done. But forget about that. Wait and see if this project is going to resume, because my understanding is that no money in a day. Second point, they're building a hospital. It is for all practical purposes a construction site. But these chamber people sat down in the meeting and heard the premier say that they finished the outside and painted it because they didn't want it to look like a construction site. A construction site, a live construction site. But paint it up nice. When I listened to this clip today, I was with a gentleman, a Christian gentleman. You know what he said? He said, Powell, play that again. I played it again. He said, but that is like you have a girl on the street corner and she soliciting men, but she not dress up like a whore, she dress up like she going church. I said, boy, you're a man of God, you shouldn't. He said, yeah, the hospital, the premier say the hospital is a construction site, but they paint it up because they don't want it to look like a construction site. It's the stupidest, dumbest argument I've heard from anybody. That you have a construction site, but you hide the fact that it is a construction site. Kind of want nobody see that it's a construction site.
But how much thing that he has said that really makes sense?
Listen, we all know the reason why the building was painted. It was painted just on the eve of the last election, in 2020 election.
Give an impression.
To give an impression that something is happening at the hospital. So it's always about deception. It's all about, a 649. Always believe his brain is bigger than anybody else's. So you put some paint on it and say he look good from the outside, while the inside they're ripping the guts out of the place. It's all deception. 609. That's his modus operandi. It's always nothing is as it appears with him. It's always something around the corner, always some deviousness in his thinking to deceive people, to make people believe something good is happening. And so that is what we get,
Let's come to the airport. Even before we do that, we're going to go to the phone lines. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Carla.
How are you doing tonight?
I am doing good. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can get the volume down here. Carlisle, so if you're building down by your house and you've been down there building for a year or 2 or 3, everybody gonna drive by and want to know, well, what are you doing there? How come it's taking so long?
Mm-hmm.
So
True.
I mean, that's why he wanted that covered up. But to me, it's the most foolish thing that he could have done because it's such wastage. It's absolute wastage to take all that paint and do that on that building, knowing that the inside is not completed. And what is taking them so long to get to the completion of the inside, Carlisle?
They were waiting on the quantity surveys because they just found out that the building must flow. That the things, when you finish, that the operations must flow. They started building a hospital like a house. So you gave a contract to an architect, a draftsman, and you said, design this house for me. And then you tell him, but the house is a hospital. And oh, by the way, some people came in from America. They charged us $500,000 and looked at it, and then they said, but this don't flow. So you got to change the design, the interior layout. And
$500,000 to do what?
To change the flow.
Oh my God. So listen, Carlisle, are you trying to tell me that with all the bright brains that we have in that place there, that nobody figured out that we needed a quantity surveyor from the very beginning?
From the start.
Are they serious?
From the start. I mean, I didn't have a quantity surveyor per se when I built my house, but I had quantities. My cousin Michael, though, who was the architect, he had to give me quantities. This is what you're going to need. This is what it's going to cost. And he did the design, so I knew that you enter the house, this is where you enter, this is where you go, these are where the bedrooms are, the bathroom is there, the kitchen is here, the dining room is here, and here is a little porch I'm offering you, Carlisle. With this government, all they were interested in, how much I say, $1.8 million for the design, whatever the number was. They're not concerned about nothing. Just put up a building, call it a hospital.
So, Carlisle, let me ask you a question. The contractors, and I am asking this with no malice, because I really don't even know who the contractors have been. But the contractors did not know that there needed to be a quantity surveyor?
Obviously, these are people who work with plans and who work with quantities and so on. They're competent contractors. I mean, they're two Gingerland fellas. I know them. They have built good things in this country. I have no problems with them.
Building a house
is different to building a hospital.
Different than building a hospital.
They were built.
In a house, you know where the bathroom gonna go. You know where the living room, kitchen gonna go. With a hospital, yes, so many other things you have to be concerned with. The premier call it the flow, and he's quite right. Things has to flow. It must make sense architecturally. It must flow. This didn't flow. This wasn't flowing.
Listen.
That's the problem.
Dr. Daly, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You think Drew them have learned something from this exercise?
Of course they have learned.
They have a quantity surveyor?
They have learned. They have learned. Believe me.
Thank you very much, Carla.
Have a good night.
Okay.
Listen, I know for a fact that one of the builder on the project or one of the contractor knew that what they were putting down there was not going to work. According to him, I build, they pay me, they give me a plan, and I build what they asked me to build. Based on the plan, I give them what they want. But he said, listen, that thing down there what they call a hospital, it is no hospital. And who designed it had no clue. The contractor said, listen, I would have done a better job and designing a hospital if they had asked me. So they knew what was going on there. but they were given a job and they willingly took the job and did exactly what was on the plan.
Listen, the Premier is one of those fellows who could talk foolishness in standard English
Hensley.
and get people to believe that what he's saying. Listen, just go there in front of the chamber, and while they head down and they eating the food, tell them things, the quantity survey, takeoffs. What he asks is a takeoff. He's a plane and the runway, no? Takeoffs, because it sound good.
It sound good.
Confuse them.
Confuse them.
They ain't know what you're talking about.
My dear father departed, God bless his soul. If you can't impress them with intelligence, baffle them with bullshit.
That's what your father said?
All the time. If you can't impress them with intelligence, baffle them with bullshit. And we have the king of bullshit in our premier, you know.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Good evening, caller.
Yeah, good evening, Carlisle, to you, Tulu, and Daly.
Good evening.
The thing is, I have a different take on it. A lot of people think the government, they're just really foolish and they're stupid bad. And they don't know what they're doing and they keep doing things twice and thrice and so on. My take is that they're some of the brightest people, Here's my version of it. The more times they do over the hospital, you know, the more time, money, and millions of dollars going to be flowing for the hospital. You know, you all know when they did the oil repair, they seem to have forgotten to put on lights and conduit for water and all them kind of things. You all know more money went through to do that project. So basically, the more times, I mean, that's how the $10 million mistake happened there. Okay, so all I'm saying is that they're some of the brightest people out. Okay? Good night.
You got a point?
Thank you very much.
They're bright, but they have no intelligence.
Well, you see, there's another saying my father used to say, only bad criminals end up in prison.
The intelligent one that doesn't get there?
No.
Okay.
So the caller is right.
Let me put something on the screen. We're running out of time, but I got to put this on the screen because a couple of different persons sent this to me, so I put it up on the screen so you could see. This is a picture which is a disturbing picture of some fencing being done on a beach over there in Paradise, I'm told. I'm sure that physical planning ought to go and take a look at it, because our beaches in Nevis are public beaches and there are stipulations. Mind you, we had a whole case here in Nevis where some villas were built on the beach and ought not to have been built the way they were built, but the government gave them permission to do so. Whole matter went to court. Nothing became of that. Not one of those villas were taken down. But once you allow people to start fencing off the beach, good luck to you. I just put it here so that people could be aware of that and know that that is not something that I would condone at all, at all, at all. All the beaches must remain public.
I remember there was a time when I was told that some business person decided that they're going to fence off a beach somewhere in Nevis. And Bradshaw, the one who they say is so bad and was such a monster, came and tell him to take it down.
Well, he told them to stop. The fence still out, they half completed.
He stopped the fence?
I know exactly where it is.
Okay, all right. And so then if this is happening in our country, where is the Prime Minister who is the head of the Federation and the head of St. Kitts Nevis? Where is his voice in this matter? You're telling me that he don't know?
Me not bother with the Prime Minister with this. We have a Premier.
Listen.
I ain't bothering with the Prime Minister. We have a Premier who is responsible for the Nevis Island. When Bradshaw stopped the wall, we had a local council.
The Premier has a vested interest. The fact that the Premier supported and gives permission for them to break the law and build the villas where they built them, and the fact that he defended them, the Premier is complicit. And somebody needs to look after the people of Nevis. The Prime Minister says he is the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. It is time for the Prime Minister to say to the Premier of Nevis, you are breaking the law, you're infringing the law, you must stop. And we're not going to accept it. Where's the voice of the Attorney General in this?
I'm leaving them alone. We have a Premier, I arguing with him. His responsibility is Nevis, and I am not going to ask one Prime Minister to come to Nevis to stop nobody doing no foolishness on the beach.
Well, that is not going to stop.
You already had a tourist down there. When the children from St. Thomas's were training, lay down on the beach, the only thing is nobody had walk on her.
This is the first time. I'm not a young man. I've been around Nevis for a long time. I remember the Brasher incident as a small boy. But it's the first time in most recent history that I've actually laid eyes on somebody fencing part of the beach. First time. And it is crazy. It is crazy. The first time I knew about private beaches is when I used to go to St. Croix and knew that there were private beaches. And I was amazed that there were private beaches because that was not my history. When I visited Jamaica and I was told I had to pay to go down to a beach, I was flabbergasted. Flabbergasted. Because I said to the people who I was with, this could never happen in Nevis. Never.
Could never happen.
Could never happen in Nevis.
And now it's happening.
And look at it now. We are fencing off beaches. I mean, Four Seasons had the clever idea of not fencing, leave the beach open, the people pass freely, and you don't want a fence there. What is the purpose of that fence? What possible purpose could it serve? But to inhibit divisions from moving freely. What possible reason? Even if you're going to build a villa down there on the beach or a hotel or resort or something, having a fence is the last possible thing you'd want down there because it seems so restrictive and so out of place. It is not our history, not our culture to put fences on our beaches. And I am outraged at physical planning who would have oversight of these matters. Had these people applied for a permit, to deny them a permit to put a fence on this beach. We are moving in a direction that is very dangerous. Because then the next step is what? Privatizing? What's the next step? Building in the sea? Preventing free movement of people across the beaches? I remember when that thing was built down there at Jessop's. What do you call the restaurant down there? At the end of Jessop's Road.
Beach Cabana?
Yeah, down to the beach, right down by Four Seasons.
Oh,
when they built the revetment,
with them stones.
With the stones, you couldn't longer have free passage. You had to come off the beach, go around and back down on the beach. Because they wanted to build that cabana down there. I never liked it. Right? They could have set it back if necessary. But that's history now. But we are moving, gentlemen, in a direction that is very dangerous for the people of Nevis. And I agree with Carlisle, this is a matter for physical planning, this is a matter for the Premier and the leadership of this country to say, no, enough is enough. Enough is enough. If Four Seasons have gone on the fence, and Paradise was to go on fence, and Holy Beach Resort was to go on fence, and if, who else we got on the beach down there?
Hamilton Beach.
Hamilton was to go on fence.
Chrissy Beach.
Chrissy Beach was to go on fence. What you end up with? What are you going to end up with?
But Dr. Daly.
Come on, man.
We look at physical planning. When those villas were built on the beach, my information says to me that physical planning said no. The Nevis Island administration overrode physical planning and gave permission for them to build what they built illegally on the beach. That's why the judge said that they should have been removed. Turn around now, with this fencing here, I want to believe that physical planning did one of two things. Either said, no, you can't do it, or they said, listen, we ain't going to have nothing to do with this. Because the last time we intervened, the government of Nevis overrides us, or they did say something, and the government of Nevis override them again. But these people just could not just go down there and fence off. They get permission from somebody. I am saying that they got permission from the Nevis Island administration. Physical planning hands are tied. Just like they go up and do the hospital, and we told how many things has been done in Nevis when physical planning is left out. The Nevis Island administration has absolutely no respect for physical planning when they want to do what they want to do. The law means nothing to them when they want to do what they want to do. That's why the gentleman said to you at the consultation, when you asked for procurement, he said, listen, we are the government, basically, the people elect us. Trust us to do whatever, even though what they were doing is wrong. They double down upon it. The law means nothing to them.
One more item before we finish tonight. It's 9:49. We don't have a whole ton of time. But there are people who are out there who seem to be all upset and bent out of shape with this free movement, which has just come to the attention of some people after the meeting which was held down in Guyana. And people have been asking me for my opinion and wanting me to spend a whole night talking about it. Listen, I will say what I said. I quite understand the position of Gaston Brown in Antigua. But I am all in favor of free movement and go where you want to go and live where you want to live and work where you want to work. With one stipulation, the islands must always be in control of who will enter their territories, so that if you have a set of criminals and people just come out of jail and they want to come to Nevis to work, I'm all in favor of giving you a second chance. Do it in your island. I am not going to know that you are not a good influence and say, listen, you are somebody else's problem, but you come and let me rehabilitate you. I ain't got them kind of tolerance and them kind of patience, I must confess. So if that is going to keep me out of heaven, well, me not going to reach. I want to make the point. We have seen the effects on our islands of those persons who are, they serve the time for whatever they did in countries, whether it's England or the US, and then they send them back and people call them deportees or whatever names. And I'm not too sure if we have the ability to deal with these people. I'm not too sure we have the ability to deal with the numbers. If, for example, I believe that the population in the Navy should be about 40,000. But I don't think that we have, and not don't think, I know we don't have the structures, whether it's physical, educational, health, to deal with those great numbers at this present moment. So that is why I understand Gaston Brown and why you want to have certain controls and so on in place. But for me to say in 2024 that I'm in Nevis and I want to go to Barbuda because they're doing a whole ton of work in Barbuda, and I have to go up there and make application, and then I spend 3 months and I have to go someplace else before I could come back in for foolishness. I done with that long time. I want to be able to roam in the rest years that I have of my life, roam all over the Caribbean with the same CARICOM passport. Other than that, why are you giving me a CARICOM passport if I can't go where you want to go within the CARICOM region and sit down? I ain't looking too much work nowadays. But the younger people must have the opportunities to do whatever they feel they want to do.
I understand that argument. I support it to a point. I have sisters and relatives who lives in other land. My father lived in the Virgin Islands for umpteen years until he passed away. And we Nevis are scattered over it. What we have here in Nevis is that this premier that we have ruling us now has done something that is detrimental to us as a society. He has split us in two, where he has been able to convince the non-nationals who come in and living among us that we, the locals, hate them. Or, in particular, anything to do with the voice of NRP, hate all you. And so they hate us. They do not like, some of them, they're getting up, but some of them, they're anti-us and anti-me because I am NRP. And so, with that monster in this equation. He has poisoned the pool. So I am not totally comfortable with a guy like him at the helm of our island, who, when we have this influx of people, if they do come, that he get on his soapbox and tell them, NRP no like all you. All the Navy-Jones who support NRP no like all you. And so we are against them and them are against us. That's my issue. But moving around, I will have to move around. Yes, my brother.
But that's an easy fix. That's an easy fix. It's one word in the Constitution you have to change. From Commonwealth citizen to citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis in order to vote.
Okay.
One word. Take out Commonwealth, put in citizen. And the issue about the non-national vote disappears overnight. Overnight. The question is, why aren't they doing it? It shows a nature that we intend to abuse the system. That we're not willing to give up that part of the conversation. So let's go to the call.
Good evening, caller. Hello, good evening, caller.
Yeah, good evening, sir. This Paul?
Yes, it is.
Oh, it's coming to scratchy. Well, listen, about the airport deal. They have a next hearing on the airport, right?
I didn't get that. They have a next what?
Hearing on the airport. Maybe you need to turn down your volume a little bit.
Go ahead.
The airport.
Go ahead.
It sounds a little better. But the airport, I'm talking about the airport. There's supposed to be a next town hall meeting, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But what I don't understand though, if the contract is already signed, why they need a town hall meeting?
It's a good question, caller. But we don't know. These are things which have, according to the Premier, they have not signed anything yet. Because I know that the leader of the Nevis Reformation Party wrote to the Premier requesting information. And to the best of my knowledge, the answer was that no contracts have been signed. But that is not what I'm seeing.
All right.
Yes.
Listen, he's a big boy. Stop playing slow. Go on the computer and Google to see the contract and sign. Why are you all playing slow? And you're all talking about you don't know where this money is going. This project is not finished. Do you know in the Constitution that any money ain't spent on a project supposed to go back in the budget in the first sitting in our assembly? When you don't acting like you all don't know these things. You say you don't know the money gone. You all need to file a class action suit and take this matter to court. It's against the Constitution. You cannot spend money and don't finish the project and then come back the money into the budget. Into the budget. It's wrong. And Google thing is right there on the computer. I'm looking at the some day ago. I just have to go on this computer and I put it up. But it's right there. Where you guys actually make it slow. Just Google the contract and it's on sign. All right.
Thank you very much, caller.
We were talking about this free movement. All right. There are certain caveats that need to be put in.
Okay.
Right. One of them, of course, you're talking about the replacing Commonwealth to citizen in order to vote. That's one thing. That will prevent the abuse by the government of the day from using those non-national voters against the population of Nevis and St. Kitts. That's the first thing. Second thing, I'm not hearing anything about the discretion of the governments to either have or not to have the work permits and residency requirements, permits. Those are not those. I'm not hearing anything about those. Are they going to be forgiven or are they out the door? Are they going to be enforced? How are they going to be enforced? I'm not hearing anything about those. I'm not hearing whether the government is going to have any quota on the number of persons can enter at any one time, per year or for whatever period of time. I'm not hearing. So you can have now adjustments made in your infrastructure, in your social programs to accommodate persons coming in permanently, relocating permanently into your federation. I'm not hearing those kind of discussions. And so we do need a population increase if we are going to widen the tax base, so we have more persons paying into the scheme. Social Security, for one example. You do hope that you'll attract persons who are not just economic migrants, and persons who are coming with a skill, persons who can have businesses set up. You're hoping to attract those class of people, rather than people simply coming to compete with local for jobs, jobs that are scarce already on the island. So there's a lot of conversation that need to be had. What is disturbing to me is the conversation I heard from the Prime Minister. The question was asked directly: what is Nevis and St. position vis-a-vis the free movement as this piece of legislation, this piece of legislation will affect us? And disappointingly, he dillied and dallied and dillied and dallied and dillied and dallied, and eventually not answering the question. All right, that he needs more data to inform how we stand. And from all indications, this framework is supposed to be in place fully by the end of March, 23 days from now. And the question must be asked: what further data does the Prime Minister need to have a position carved out for Nevis and St. Kitts? Gaston Brown was quite clear that we are in no frame of mind to have this happen yet. That's his position. He would have looked at his own circumstance and made that decision. And he was at the meeting in Guyana. He was there.
And our Prime Minister.
Our Prime Minister was there with his wife.
And don't have a position.
And
yet.
he is telling us he needs more data. When this bill, this framework is supposed to go in existence permanently at the end of March. This is not a good position to be in, because it makes us look like you're not prepared to deal with the circumstances or the ramifications of what could happen. Because we are bragging, and you heard the Premier brag at the Chamber of Commerce meeting, that we are on an upward trajectory in terms of growth and development. That the Federation is boasting, up to 7% growth for 2024 and into 2025. So if persons out there in the diaspora or persons in the region who are looking to find a country to land on safely, to invest or to work, of course they're going to look for a country that's growing. So what are the frameworks? What frameworks have you put in place to deal with the expected influx of persons? Do you have enough housing? Do you have enough opportunities to create employment? Do you have enough school classrooms? Do you have enough of healthcare? Do you have enough of this and that to make sure that you do not deplete what you have, but build on what you have? And that is the position that I expected the Prime Minister to say to the question, that we are cognizant of what we need to do, and we have a plan to build out our infrastructure to accommodate the expected increases in our population. We expect 5,000 people by 2025, or 2,000 people by 2025. But they are going to contribute X amount to the Treasury. They're going to contribute X amount to our society's growth, X amount to small business development. I don't know what the hell he said today. I don't know what he said. He looked like a deer caught in a headlight. Like he didn't know what to say to the question. It was simple.
But this is something that has been under discussion for a while. By the way, 2 minutes after 10, I like to run home when it's 10 o'clock.
Well, I don't talk.
So I take that as your closing statement. Tulu?
Okay, since you want to run home, good night, everyone.
Okay. I'll close just by telling you that I used to have some discussions with Dr. Simeon Daniel. When he ready, he used to call me up Ramsbury. And we used to sit down and talk. And one of the things that they had on the table was education for the people of Nevis. He said that's why they had Miami-Dade come in here, so that people could qualify at home. He said, because, one of these days, other people are going to come into Nevis. And our people must be qualified to do the jobs that we want them to do. Mm-hmm. And our people must be prepared to go out as well into the rest of the Caribbean and the rest of the world. So let us train them so that when that eventuality comes, our people are trained.
That's a wise leader. Was a wise leader.
Sim Daniel left office in 1992. And he left office. Have you seen any programs by CCM to train our people?
No.
They took back the one we had.
Some people are educated, but some can be asses. It's not me said it, it's Sim Daniel said it. So, that's where I'm going to leave you. We're going to be back with you next week. If you are celebrating in the month of March, enjoy. And if you are not, then we're sorry for you.
Wait till April.
Wait till April. Okay, see you next week. Until then, we want you to be good.
Yes, if you tell me, I will tell them that tell me.